Okay, so section 2.1b, this is on solving equations. It could be solving equations with one variable in the equation, but most of the ones that we want you guys to practice are the equations with two variables. Sometimes they might be on the same side of the equation, sometimes they could be on other sides of the equation. So it can be on the left and the right side of the equal sign, or maybe they're both on the left side, maybe they're both on the right side. So that's kind of what they want you guys to practice. So I'm going to do the odd numbers for you guys from the homework, and then you guys will just work on the even ones, okay? They all kind of match up. So when I do one, there's a matching one on the other side, all right? So here we go. So we're just solving equations, okay? This is all we're doing, just solving equations.
Okay.
All right. So here's the first one. Plus 7b is equal to, that's a lot of sevens, but there you go. So the very first one they're giving us is this, and they say solve. Okay? So since we have variables on the same side, you have to combine them, okay? Sometimes I get students that will do the following. They're like, oh, I remember solving. What you're supposed to do is move them to the other side. So I see two b's, so I'm going to subtract b here and subtract b here. And that's wrong, okay? But I understand why they do it, because they're so used to moving variables from left and right. But right here, they kind of subtracted on the same side, so it doesn't make sense. When the variables on the same side, you're going to want to just combine them, just put them together, right? So b plus 7b, we're going to have 8b plus 7 equal to 7, okay? Now there's no more variable terms on the left besides the 8b, but I do see a 7 there that's hanging out by itself. So let me move that 7 over to the right side, okay? So we're going to subtract 7 on both sides. So this cancels out, right, on the left side. So we just have 8b equal to 7 minus 7 is 0. Last step, 8 times b, you want to do the opposite of multiplication. So you're going to divide. So you're going to divide by 8. So b is equal to 0. Okay, so there's going to be a question like that. I can see it right here. Number 2 looks very similar to it. Just that instead of the two variables being on the left side, they have both of them on the right side. But same idea. No big deal. Okay? So there's going to be a problem that's going to look like that. Okay? Now, there will also be problems where the variables are on both sides of the equation. So it's going to look something like this. Let me just... You know what? Yeah, I'm just going to do it. I was going to change it up, but it's not going to be the same looking type problem, but it kind of looks similar to the previous one. It's just going to be the same answer, though, and I didn't like that, but oh well, whatever. As long as you solve it right, it doesn't matter if the answers match up. So in this case, we have x's on both sides of the equation. So in order to fix that, we want to try to get both of them on the same side. Now, what I always do, I prefer not to work with negative numbers. If I can help it, I try to get rid of them. So you see how I have a positive 1x, that's what it is over there on the left side, a positive 1x. And then I have a negative 8x. I'm going to move the negative 8 because it's a smaller number than 1. Okay, I'm going to move it because by moving the negative 8 over, my result is going to end up in a positive x on the other side. Okay, whereas if I were to move the 1x to the right side, I'd end up with a negative 9x. And again, I'd rather not deal with negatives, so I'm just trying to fix it for myself. So 1x plus 8x is going to give me 9x plus 7 equals to 7. The negative 8x plus 8x cancels out. It becomes a 0. At this point, I got to move that 7 over. This is what I said, like, oh, this looks kind of similar to the other problem, right? We're going to subtract the 7 on both sides. So we get 9x equal to 0. And just like we did in the previous problem, we got to divide the number next to the variable. So we'll divide by 9. And that gives you x equal to 0. So it wasn't intended for me to get two answers that equal to 0 back to back, but I guess they happen. All right, so there'll be another problem similar to this for number 4 for you guys, okay? And by the way I'm numbering these 1, 2, 3, 4 doesn't mean that's the order in which they're coming out. So it's just example 1, example 2. So, all right. Any questions so far? I mean, I'm guessing solving equations shouldn't be anything you guys should be scared of. It's a very common thing that you've been doing for many years. Like I said, in the very beginning of every class, unless you go to calculus, we always start you off with some, do you remember how to do this stuff, right? Because it'd be bad if we start going into the hard stuff and you still can't remember the old stuff. So, all right, here's the next one. Negative 2n minus 4 times 5n minus 2 is equal to 52. And again, on numbers, this is number 5 from your homework, and number 6 will be very similar. But you can see how they're changing it up. So for us, the first thing we're going to want to do is what? Yeah, we're going to do the multiplication, right? Distribute it over, right? We're going to want to distribute it. All right, so we are going to distribute, okay? So if you kind of already got ahead of me, that's fine. But we're going to distribute this first. So the negative 2n is just going to stay there, but the negative 4 times 5 will be negative 20n. Negative 4 times negative 2 is a positive 8, and that's equal to 52. So at this point, you're going to want to join your like terms, right? So negative 2n minus 20n is negative 22n. Still have plus 8 equal to 52. Remember, guys, I think I told you yesterday, if you can do this faster, go for it. I probably would have done 2 steps at once. I would have combined my variables and subtracted the 8. But you take it at your own speed, okay? So we'll subtract 8 on both sides to get that 8 out of the way. Give me a second here. All right, so this is going to be minus 8. So when I do that, I get negative 22n equal to, this is 44. Okay, now you divide by the number next to the variable here. So this is going to divide by negative 22. Remember, whenever you divide a positive number by a negative number, you get a negative answer. So it's going to be negative 2. And there's your solution. We got 2 more. So we're only going on 8 minutes or so of recording, so I can say this will be pretty quick. The screen getting stuck was unexpected, but it won't look like that if you're watching it on video. All right, so question number 4. So gradually kind of messing around with the way things look. So here's question number, or example number 4 for you guys. So 64 is equal to 4 times the quantity of negative 4n plus 4. So again, they want you to distribute, right? To continue to distribute and then combine things together. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to distribute on the right side. So let's get this 4 and we're going to distribute it over here. So we end up with 64 equal to negative 16n plus 16. At this point, you want to try to combine any variables on the right side, but there are no other variables besides negative 16n. So let's move that plus 16 over to the other side. So we're going to subtract 16 on both sides. 64 minus 16, if I'm correct, is 48, right? So I think that's 48. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's equal to negative 16n. And again, since the number negative 16 is next to that variable, that's a multiplication. You want to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 16. And that's going to give you a negative 3 as your answer. We got one more. These are considered like the more difficult ones, the ones we're doing right now, but they're not that bad, right? One more problem, then you guys get the homework. And you only have to worry about doing half of it, because I'm about to do 50% of it with this last example. All right, so here we go. 23 plus 3v equals to negative 3 minus 5 times 5 minus 4v. So they're just adding more stuff. I mean, that's basically all they're doing. But once you clean it up, it becomes the same type of problem. Don't let the problems scare you just because they're longer. You just got to take a couple steps just to simplify. Like I said, most of this stuff you guys, I think, should feel pretty confident with. I don't think it's gonna like kill anybody to see this again. I don't know when you started solving these types of problems, but I know you start doing a little bit of algebra like in 5th and 6th grade, like little bits, right? So it's been a long time since you guys have been doing this, so hopefully it's second nature. So all right, before I do anything in terms of moving things from left to right and right to left, I'm going to go ahead and do the distribution first, right? That's the thing that calls my attention immediately, is let's distribute. So I am going to distribute a negative 5 into that problem. So I get 23 plus 3v equals to negative 3. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25v. I'm sorry, not v, negative 25. And then negative 5 times negative 4 is a positive 20v. Now I see on the right side that I have two normal numbers, so let me combine those first. Okay, again, I'm taking all the steps, so if you don't need to take all these steps, that's okay. You take as many steps as you want. Just make sure you're getting it right. So there you go. I combine negative 3 minus 25. That gives me a negative 28. Okay. Now I have two variables, one on the left, one on the right, a 3v and a 20v. And if you do it the way I do it, you're going to move the 3v to the right side. And the reason why I move the 3v is because it's smaller than 20v. Okay, so that means when I subtract 20 minus 3, I get a positive answer. If I move the 20v to the left side, I get a negative number, right? 3 minus 20 would be negative 17v. So I don't want to bring out negatives if I don't have to, okay? It's not that it's wrong, it's just not my preference, okay? So I'm going to subtract 3v on both sides. Again, you do it however it makes you feel most comfortable. But I always teach it to like my Math 1A kids to always move the smaller valued variable. Okay, so here we go. We got 23 equal to negative 28. What is that? Plus 17v. So I'm going to move the negative 28 over to the left side. So when I add that to both sides, I get 51 equal to 17v. How many times does 17 go into 51? 3 times, right? So if I divide both sides by 17, I get a 3. Okay? This is what you guys are doing for homework. Let me go ahead and stop the video here.